The Soviet sniper who terrified the Eastern Front, Lyudmila Pavlichenko. Chapter 1. The Early Years, a Girl of Nature and Steel. Lyudmila Pavlichenko was born on July 12, 1916, in the city of Biela Tserkva, a small but vibrant community in what was then the Russian Empire, now part of Ukraine. From an early age, she exhibited a unique affinity for the natural world. Her family lived modestly. Her father, a dedicated railroad worker, and her mother, a homemaker, struggled to make ends meet, but instilled in their children a sense of purpose and resilience. Lyudmila spent countless hours exploring the vast woods and fields surrounding their home. These formative years would become a foundation for her future. Her love of nature would merge with a profound skill in tracking, observation, and marksmanship. Her father, a man of quiet dignity and a skilled sharpshooter, played a critical role in shaping her abilities. Recognizing Lyudmila's keen eye and patience, he introduced her to the world of firearms early on, teaching her how to shoot with precision. Their weekend excursions were more than mere father-daughter bonding. They were lessons in focus, patience, and discipline. By the time Lyudmila entered adolescence, she had developed an almost uncanny ability to hit targets at distances that impressed even the most experienced marksmen. Her natural talents were supplemented by hours spent at local shooting ranges, where she honed her technique, developing a steady hand and a clear mind under pressure. Chapter 2: University Life, the Formation of a Strategist. After completing her secondary education, Lyudmila moved to Kyiv, a city brimming with intellectual energy, to attend the University of Kyiv. She chose history as her field of study, hoping to understand the forces that shaped the world. In university, she encountered new perspectives, challenging ideologies, and intense academic debates, all of which broadened her horizons. Yet, the lure of the rifle was never far from her mind. At university, she joined the university's shooting club, where she quickly earned a reputation as one of the best marksmen in a group dominated by men. Her passion for shooting soon transcended mere competition, as she began to think about how her skills could contribute to her country in the event of war. Europe was rapidly descending into conflict, and Lyudmila knew the Soviet Union might soon be caught in the maelstrom of war. As whispers of growing fascist aggression reached the Soviet Union, she began to consider the possibility of serving her nation, not in a medical or logistical capacity, as was often the case for women, but directly in combat. Chapter 3: The Outbreak of War, a Call to Arms. On June 22, 1941, the unthinkable happened. Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Lyudmila was 25 years old. The news hit her like a thunderclap, but it didn't paralyze her. It ignited a fierce determination. She saw the attack as a direct threat to her homeland and to the world she loved. She immediately volunteered for service in the Red Army, ready to fight on the front lines. However, at the time, women were largely excluded from combat roles in the Soviet military, which primarily saw them as support staff in medical or logistical units. At first, Lyudmila's requests to join a combat unit were met with skepticism, but her unwavering persistence and her proven shooting abilities soon won over her superiors. She was accepted into a sniper training program, despite the reluctance of some officials who doubted the ability of women to serve as frontline fighters. Her decision to join combat was a radical act in a time when women's contributions were often undervalued. Chapter 4: Sniper Training, the Making of a Killer. Lyudmila's sniper training took place in Moscow, at the Soviet Union's highly secretive and specialized sniper school. The program was intensive, physically demanding, and mentally taxing. Trainees were subjected to grueling physical conditioning, sniper marksmanship drills, and camouflage training. But it was the psychological training that set snipers apart from other soldiers. They had to learn how to endure extreme mental pressure, remain calm under fire, and hold their nerve in situations where hesitation could mean death. Lyudmila was a quick study. Her natural talent with firearms made her an exceptional marksman, and her dedication to perfecting her craft soon became evident. She learned how to assess wind conditions, calculate distances, and anticipate enemy movements. Her instructors were impressed by her calm demeanor under pressure, her patience, and her ability to remain motionless for hours, often lying in the cold, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She quickly emerged as one of the Soviet Union's top sniper candidates. By the end of her training, Lyudmila had not only developed extraordinary marksmanship skills, but also a deep understanding of the psychological aspects of warfare. She knew that the enemy could be as easily defeated through fear as through bullets. Her calm and unyielding presence on the battlefield would soon come to haunt her enemies in ways they could never anticipate. Chapter 5. The Siege of Sevastopol, a city under fire. In late 1941, Lyudmila was deployed to Sevastopol, a strategic port city on the Crimean Peninsula, which was under siege by German forces. The Germans had superior numbers and artillery, and they were determined to capture the city. Lyudmila was assigned to the city's defense and quickly earned a reputation as an indispensable asset. Sevastopol was a city in ruins, its streets ravaged by artillery bombardments, its buildings reduced to skeletal remains. It was a sniper's nightmare, virtually no cover, the constant threat of being discovered, and the unrelenting pressure of the German assault. But for Lyudmila, it was the perfect environment to put her training to the test. From hidden positions in the rubble, Lyudmila would take aim at German officers, machine gunners, and enemy snipers, picking them off one by one. The psychological warfare she waged was just as powerful as the physical damage she inflicted. German soldiers began to fear the sound of a rifle shot, knowing that it could mean death from a place they could not see. Chapter 6. First confirmed kill, the beginning of a legend. Lyudmila's first confirmed kill came during a brutal artillery barrage. From a concealed position atop a crumbling building, she spotted a German officer directing artillery fire. As the officer raised his binoculars, Lyudmila took a careful, measured breath, and with surgical precision, she squeezed the trigger. The officer fell, and her comrades in the city below were stunned into a moment of silence. Her first kill was both an initiation into the brutal realities of war and the birth of her legend. It was not just the kill that made her famous, it was the way in which she executed it. Calm, methodical, and with an almost eerie composure, Lyudmila became an embodiment of Soviet resilience. Word of her exploits spread quickly. The Germans would soon begin to fear the name Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a name they associated with death, precision, and terror. Chapter 7. Life in the Trenches, a Soldier's Routine. Life in the trenches was unforgiving. Lyudmila endured freezing winters, sporadic food rations, and constant bombardments from enemy artillery. The days bled together in an endless cycle of exhaustion, fear, and vigilance. But despite the constant danger, Lyudmila maintained an unwavering focus. Each morning, she would scout the enemy's positions, observing their movements through her sniper's scope. She calculated the wind speed, the distance, and the trajectory, executing each shot with methodical precision. At times, she would remain in position for hours, waiting for the right moment to take her shot. The harshness of trench warfare didn't just test her physical endurance, it tested her mental resilience. Her presence in the trenches, especially her calm demeanor and unflinching focus, had a galvanizing effect on her comrades. They began to see her not only as a weapon but as a symbol of hope. Her resolve inspired many to fight harder, to endure longer, knowing that a sniper like Lyudmila was watching their backs. Chapter 8. Psychological Warfare, Fear and Intimidation. As the months went by, Lyudmila's fame grew. The German forces became increasingly fearful of her. Rumors spread like wildfire across the front lines. Tales of a Soviet woman sniper who never missed her target. It wasn't just the soldiers on the front lines who feared her. Her mere presence had a profound psychological effect on German commanders. They knew that she could be anywhere, lying in wait, and they had no idea where her next shot would come from. This fear paralyzed their ranks, and soldiers became increasingly hesitant to expose themselves. Her reputation, amplified by German soldiers' letters and accounts, created a kind of mythic aura around her. She was not just a sniper. She was a force of nature, an embodiment of Soviet resistance and cunning. Chapter 9, Rising Fame, a symbol of Soviet resilience. By 1942, Lyudmila's confirmed kills had surpassed 100. The Soviet government began to recognize her exceptional contributions to the war effort. She was elevated to the status of a national hero, her exploits chronicled in the press and celebrated in propaganda. The Soviet media used her as a symbol of Soviet strength and resilience, showcasing not just her marksmanship but her unwavering spirit. Her fame had a dual impact. It boosted morale on the Soviet side and struck fear into the hearts of the enemy. Yet, despite her rising profile, Lyudmila remained grounded. She frequently wrote letters to her family, reflecting on the brutal realities of war, the camaraderie among soldiers, and the deep emotional toll of taking lives. Despite the accolades, she remained humble, always attributing her success to the collective effort of the Red Army rather than her individual accomplishments. Chapter 10, Training Others, Passing on the Legacy. Lyudmila's exceptional skills did not go unnoticed by Soviet command. Recognizing her expertise, they assigned her the task of training other snipers. She developed a rigorous training regimen, focusing not just on the technical aspects of marksmanship but also on the psychological conditioning required to be a successful sniper. Her lessons emphasized patience, observation, and mental fortitude, qualities that had made her so successful on the front lines. Her training program was open to both men and women, and many of her students went on to become successful snipers in their own right, fighting with distinction across the Eastern Front. Through this role, Lyudmila amplified her impact, turning her own skills into a multiplying force that spread across the Soviet army. The battle for Odessa, precision under fire. In 1942, Lyudmila was transferred to the Southern Front, where the Soviets were desperately defending the port city of Odessa. The situation was dire. The Germans had launched an all-out offensive, and the Soviet forces were outnumbered, struggling to hold onto key positions. For Lyudmila, this new phase of combat would require even more ingenuity and flexibility. Odessa was a city devastated by continuous bombardment. Streets and buildings lay in ruins, and the urban landscape offered few opportunities for snipers to conceal themselves. Yet Lyudmila thrived in such conditions. Her keen understanding of the terrain, coupled with her ability to blend into the chaos of battle, made her an invaluable asset to the Soviet defense. From behind crumbling walls and broken windows, Lyudmila picked off enemy officers, snipers, and machine gunners. She would often lie in wait for hours, observing the movements of the German forces, waiting for the precise moment to strike. Her training and natural instincts allowed her to anticipate the enemy's behavior, often eliminating high-ranking officers or taking out machine gunners who were inflicting heavy casualties on Soviet troops. Each of these strikes had ripple effects. Each officer removed from command created a vacuum that slowed the German offensive, giving Soviet troops time to regroup. But it was not just her remarkable skill with the rifle that made her stand out. Lyudmila's actions saved lives. Her precision in neutralizing key threats prevented the Germans from securing critical positions, thus ensuring the continued defense of Odessa. Her role in this pivotal battle reinforced her reputation as not just a sniper but a strategic asset whose actions could shift the course of a battle. Chapter 12, Wounds and Resilience, the Cost of War. The harshness of war finally caught up with Lyudmila in 1943. During an intense skirmish near the front lines, a German artillery shell exploded close to her position. The blast shattered the ground beneath her, and shrapnel tore through her body, leaving her severely wounded. She was immediately evacuated from the front lines, but her resolve remained unbroken. While recovering in a Soviet military hospital, Lyudmila took time to reflect on the toll war had taken on her. She wrote extensively in her journals, documenting her experiences, thoughts on strategy, and the psychological effects of combat. For the first time, she allowed herself to process the emotional cost of war, the weight of the lives she had taken, the comrades she had lost, and the ever-present fear of death. Yet, even in the face of these challenges, Lyudmila refused to let the wound define her. She continued to stay in contact with military commanders, offering strategic advice and analyzing battlefield reports. Despite her injury, she remained an active participant in the war effort, showing that her strength was not just physical but mental. Her recovery would not be the end of her journey. It was merely a pause before she returned to the front lines. Chapter 13: International Recognition, the Face of Soviet Courage. By 1943, Lyudmila's reputation had transcended Soviet borders. The Red Army saw an opportunity to bolster international support, particularly from their allies in the West, and sent Lyudmila abroad to tour the United States and Canada. Her mission was to build diplomatic ties, foster goodwill, and raise awareness about the Soviet war effort. In the U.S., Lyudmila was introduced to military leaders and civilians alike. She was invited to speak at various gatherings, sharing her experiences and promoting the importance of Allied unity against the Axis forces. Her presence captivated audiences. In one demonstration, she showcased her marksmanship skills, impressing Americans with her calm precision. She would often speak of the camaraderie she had experienced among the Soviet soldiers and the sacrifices that had been made in defense of her homeland. In addition to her public appearances, Lyudmila's story was picked up by the media. Articles were published in newspapers across the Western world, depicting her as the quintessential symbol of Soviet determination and resilience. The world had witnessed women serve on the front lines, but Lyudmila's reputation as a sniper, her role as a skilled combatant in a male-dominated profession, set her apart as a pioneer for women in warfare. Her international tours were not only about raising awareness, they were a form of recognition for her heroism, as well as a diplomatic strategy to bridge the gap between Soviet forces and their allies. Lyudmila, always humble, never let the attention get to her head. She viewed her tours not as a personal triumph, but as a way to strengthen the resolve of the Soviet people and inspire future generations of soldiers. Chapter 14: Personal Sacrifices, the Price of War. Behind the heroic facade, Lyudmila was burdened by the same personal sacrifices that many soldiers faced. She spent long stretches of time separated from her family, missing milestones in her siblings' lives and the warm, familiar bond of home. During her letters home, Lyudmila often spoke of how much she missed the simple pleasures of peace. Sleeping through the night without the sound of bombs, the comfort of her mother's cooking, and the laughter of her friends. But the emotional weight was not just about separation from her family. The constant specter of death loomed over her. She had witnessed countless comrades fall in battle, and while she had become a symbol of death to the enemy, she was also well aware of the fragile nature of her own existence. Every mission, every shot carried the possibility that she might not survive. War hardened Lyudmila, but it also made her more reflective. In her private moments, she grappled with the fear, grief, and moral conflict that came with the reality of killing. These internal battles were perhaps the most difficult of all, and yet they did not break her. Instead, they deepened her resolve. Lyudmila understood that the fight for her country came at an unbearable cost, but she was willing to pay that price. Chapter 15: Return to the Front, a renewed resolve. After several months of recovery, Lyudmila was eager to return to the front. Her time away from combat had not dulled her edge. On the contrary, she returned with renewed determination and a wealth of new strategies gleaned from her studies of battlefield reports. The German forces had adapted in her absence, but so had the Red Army. She rejoined her unit in the winter of 1943, this time with a heightened sense of tactical awareness. She was no longer merely an observer. She had become a strategist, using her vast experience to coordinate operations. The Germans, aware of her return, grew increasingly wary of Soviet snipers. Lyudmila's return to the battlefield, however, marked a new chapter in her legendary career. She adapted to new tactics, including setting up decoys and working in tandem with artillery units to maximize the damage she caused. Her return was not just a triumph for Lyudmila herself. It was a morale booster for the entire Red Army. She was a living embodiment of resilience, proof that no matter the obstacle, the Soviet spirit could not be broken. Legacy in numbers, the myth of Lady Death. By the time she left the front lines in 1945, Lyudmila had achieved an estimated 309 confirmed kills, though some estimates put the number much higher. Each kill represented more than just a soldier eliminated. It was a calculated strike against an enemy force, a deliberate disruption of the Nazi war machine. But the numbers were not what defined Lyudmila's legacy. She was more than a statistic. She was a symbol of precision, courage, and unwavering determination. In every battle she fought, her legend grew, and the psychological warfare she waged on the German forces was immeasurable. Her name, Lady Death, was whispered in hushed tones across the battlefield, and soldiers feared her as much as they feared the cold, hard reality of war itself. Chapter 17. Post-war life, a quiet hero's return. After the war, Lyudmila transitioned into civilian life. The heroic sniper, who had once been the face of Soviet resistance, now sought to understand the world in a different way. She turned to historical research, dedicating her time to documenting the contributions of women in the Soviet military and preserving the stories of her comrades. She also became involved in public speaking, traveling across the Soviet Union and beyond to share her experiences, ensuring that the sacrifices of those who fought alongside her would not be forgotten. She never sought fame for its own sake. Lyudmila was a soldier, not an icon, and yet she had become one not just in the Soviet Union but around the world. Her story was a testament to the power of human will, the strength of the spirit, and the unyielding desire to protect one's homeland. Chapter 18. Honoring the fallen, a soldier's duty beyond the battlefield. In the years following the war, Lyudmila dedicated much of her time to honoring the memory of her fallen comrades. While she was heralded as a hero in her own right, she never lost sight of the sacrifices made by those who had fought and died alongside her. She often visited memorials and grave sites, laying flowers and offering quiet moments of reflection. For Lyudmila, remembering the fallen was a sacred duty. She knew that without them, her own survival and success would not have been possible. The camaraderie that had developed among the soldiers, both men and women, was the backbone of her determination. Many of those who had shared in the hardships of war had not lived to see the victory they helped secure. Their memory was something she carried with her for the rest of her life. Through her work in historical research, Lyudmila also became a passionate advocate for preserving the stories of the soldiers who had served in World War II. She worked tirelessly to collect their letters, diaries, and testimonies, ensuring that future generations would understand the true cost of war and the sacrifices made. She often spoke of her own experiences, but she also made it clear that she was only one part of a much larger whole. A whole made up of millions of ordinary people who had been thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Her efforts went beyond personal memory. Lyudmila was instrumental in organizing annual commemorations of the Battle of Sevastopol and other key battles in which she had participated. She was often seen speaking at events, telling the stories of those who had died fighting beside her and ensuring their bravery was not forgotten. Her commitment to historical preservation became a form of activism, reminding the Soviet people and the world of the true human cost of war. Chapter 19. Recognition and Awards, the Hero of the Soviet Union. In recognition of her remarkable service, Lyudmila was awarded numerous honors and accolades throughout her life. Most notably, she was bestowed the title of Hero of the Soviet Union, the highest distinction for military valor, in 1942. This prestigious honor was given not only for her exceptional skill as a sniper, but also for her leadership, courage, and relentless dedication to the Soviet war effort. But Lyudmila's recognition did not end there. She received several other medals and awards, including the Order of Lenin, the Order of the Patriotic War, and the Medal for Courage. These accolades served as a reflection of her bravery and the lasting impact she had on the Red Army's success during the war. Despite these honors, Lyudmila remained humble. She never sought the limelight or the recognition for herself. Rather, she felt that the awards were a collective achievement, recognition for all those who had fought alongside her, for all those who had sacrificed. In speeches and interviews, she often deflected praise, instead highlighting the collective strength and courage of the soldiers she fought with. Even after the war, as a civilian, she continued to receive recognition for her wartime achievements. She was invited to participate in veterans' events and national commemorations, where her presence was both a reminder of the war's legacy and a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. Chapter 20: Legacy and Memory, a Timeless Inspiration. Lyudmila Pavlichenko passed away on October 10, 1974, but her legacy endured long after her death. Her story is preserved in books, documentaries, and films, where her life is remembered as one of extraordinary courage, precision, and determination. Today, she is recognized as one of the most successful snipers in history, with over 300 confirmed kills to her name. Her impact extends beyond the battlefield. Lyudmila was not just a sniper. She was a symbol of the power of women in wartime. Her success shattered preconceived notions about gender roles in combat and proved that women could be just as lethal and skilled as men in the harshest of environments. Lyudmila's example continues to inspire generations of women and men who see in her not just a soldier, but a hero whose determination and resolve helped change the course of history. In Russia, she is remembered as a national hero, a figure whose bravery helped to turn the tide of the war in the Soviet Union's favor. Statues of her stand in various cities, and her story is taught in schools as part of the national curriculum. She is honored annually, and her story serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by all those who fought during the Great Patriotic War. Internationally, Lyudmila's legend has spread, as her story resonates with people worldwide who admire her for the same qualities: bravery, resilience, and precision that made her a formidable force on the battlefield. Her legacy has become a symbol of unshakable resolve, a testament to the human spirit's ability to persevere even in the darkest of times. For those who knew her, Lyudmila's memory is cherished not just for her achievements as a sniper, but for the person she was: brave, humble, and unwavering in her commitment to her comrades, her country, and her values. She was not defined by the number of kills she accumulated, but by the strength of her character and her unwavering belief in the importance of duty, honor, and sacrifice. Today, as we remember Lyudmila Pavlichenko, we remember not just the Lady Death, who became a legend in the annals of military history, but a woman whose legacy continues to inspire millions, reminding us all that true strength lies not in power, but in the courage to stand firm in the face of unimaginable adversity.